Welcome to Getting Defensive Weekend Primer presented by Gridiron Ratings. I am your host, JJ Wenner, and welcome to part 2 of our free agency frenzy. Tonight, we talk about the top signings on the defensive side of the ball and why they matter to your rosters. With me tonight, my friend and Gridiron Ratings senior IDP analyst. You can find him on Twitter at the IDP Twitter, Gary Van Dyke. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing really well. This is exciting, man. I love this time of year, free agency, and it seems to have been kind of wild this year. I mean, you got people getting cut really over some contracts just to turn around and spend money on more contracts. So it's pretty wild.
You have to love it. As my buddy Don says, this is the time of year that hope springs eternal.
Yep.
So everybody's team has a chance right now.
Right.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, also with us tonight, joining me for the first time, the author of the best new series out there in IDP, the Key and Diagnose series. You can find him on Twitter at BJack. His first name ain't Baby, it's Brandon. Mr. Jackson, if you're nasty. How you doing, Brandon?
I'm doing great, JJ. Finally get a chance to be on the show with you. You got a very lively personality. You get me pumped every time I listen to you. So I'm very excited to be on here with Gary, the godfather of IDP. Discuss these free agents, see how these teams, fill their needs and how it affects IDP fantasy football.
Absolutely, because that's what we are here for, to help your rosters as we head into the new season. Now, before we jump into tonight's topic, make sure you like and subscribe below to get all of our most recent content, including the Gridiron Ratings debut of the Rider Dynasty podcast. That's mine. Remember, your path to the title starts with Gridiron Ratings. Now, gentlemen, let's check on the news. The Eagles released Fletcher Cox today as a cap casualty, but the team has expressed some interest in re-signing him. Now, he did have a slow start to the 2021 season, but he rebounded down the stretch, posting double-digit fantasy points in 6 out of his final 8 games. Gary, do you see him sticking around and accepting a lower contract with the Eagles, or do you think he's going to bolt?
I don't know. I really don't know. I haven't looked into it. The whole it's projection at this point. So rumors fly. So I don't have anything until he lands somewhere, to tell you the truth.
Do you think he still has some good years left in him?
Probably, at least a couple. I think he's worth having. But, he's been in Philadelphia for a long time, and they haven't really gone anywhere. He may want a change of scenery. I think I might. I don't know. I'm excited about the Hussein Reddick signing, but that's not going to take them to the playoffs next year, So, I just really don't have a take on it until after I see where he lands.
Well, okay, then. 10 years in
right.
Philly. He did the city well. Of course, they didn't win. Maybe he'll sign somewhere to get a shot at a ring, because it won't be in Philly this year. Now, Brandon, according to Mike Garofalo, the Panthers signed Damian Wilson to a 2-year contract. Now, there aren't many players that Damian Wilson is better than. However, one of those players is Jermaine Carter, now who played over 850 snaps last year. Do you think that Wilson's going to be the clear-cut replacement for Carter?
Possibly. He's a younger player. I don't know how relevant he's going to be for fantasy. He was playing next to Myles Jack last year, and that linebacker group didn't do much. So we just have to wait and see. Monitor the training camp news and see. What was it? His new team again? I'm sorry.
Damian Wilson went to the Panthers, so it's gonna,
Just
all right. Yeah, I know they have Shaq Thompson. He's all right.
But a lot of these situations are just really going to be just wait and sees. It's kind of hard to take a direct take on it, and then as soon as you do, at this immediate moment on some of these, and it can happen. We just did Indianapolis Colts yesterday, and right after we did the whole team unit and talked about the defensive ends and pay and such, then what happens? They sign Yannicke or Yannicka, whatever his name is. So kind of, these are right. So Yeah, just kind of watching this news. I haven't really looked into much of other than the guys that we had slated for tonight. I just take time, let it develop, I suppose. So, but
Now,
I think he's right. I think you guys are probably right. He's probably their starting run stopper, taking Carter's place.
well,
Yeah. I haven't really looked into the situation like you, Gary. But I mean, I think he's been like a mediocre fantasy asset so far in his career.
Yeah.
So we just
but
got.
as we're going to discuss in a little bit, sometimes mediocre talent can be a great IDP asset.
But I mean, they
Yeah.
lost a lot of starters on the defense, like a couple defensive linemen, some corners. So that defense, it could be taking a hit next season. So it could be some.
Which we're going to be talking about Xavier Woods in a little bit, and I think it's very underrated signing there. But yep. So yeah, we got Von Miller too, didn't we, JJ?
Yeah, well, we're going to be talking about that on Tuesday, but we might as well bring it up that Von Miller did sign yesterday with the Bills. 6 years, $120 million.
Yeah.
I mean, he's 33. I don't know why you're signing somebody 33 to a 6-year contract, but there's outs, right? There's outs available.
Right.
Any immediate thoughts without going too in depth, Brandon?
About Von Miller?
About Von, yeah, going to the Bills.
Yeah, the contract I'm not too fond about, especially for how old is Von Miller now? 33 years old.
33.
Yeah, that's a lot of money to invest in an older edge rusher. They got a rotation going on too. Their D linemen, they typically hover around 50-60% of the snaps. So I'm not sure how productive he can be in those limited amount of snaps. But then again, the offense is very good. That those edge rushers should be in positive game scripts to rush the passer. So we have to see. He can keep up his level of production. He was okay last season.
All right. Well, gentlemen, that's it for the news right now. I mean, we're not going to talk about Dirty O. Devontae Adams got traded to the Raiders, but I'm not going to talk about that.
Let's not piss Gary off about the Dirty O.
Yeah.
Oh, and I'm also not going to talk about Allen Robinson to the Rams.
No way, really?
That's
wow.
Signing. The champs
did
better, but
it's
amazing.
What's that do for Cup?
I don't think it does much for Cup. Cup is
thank God.
He's still going to be elite wide receiver, top 3 wide receiver. Him and the chemistry him and Stafford have is just incredible. Especially now with Devontae Adams leaving Green Bay, I think you got to say Cup and Stafford are the best tandem QB wide receiver combo.
Boy, I flipped the switch with Brandon there. Let's move on.
Sorry. Well, let's jump right into the IDP side of the ball, free agent signings. Now, first up on our list, former Cowboy Randy Gregory signed a massive 5-year, $70 million contract with the Denver Broncos. Brandon, where are you with Randy Gregory and his 2022 outlook?
I'm looking at the situation. I'm not sure, to be honest with you, because Randy Gregory, he's been like sort of a boom bust IDP fantasy asset his whole career. He struggled with suspensions and injuries. His highest sack total is only 6 sacks, which he achieved in 2018 and in this past season in 2021. Dallas, they run like a rotation with their defensive line. The defensive linemen, once again, they hover around 50-60% of the snaps, and that's what he's been able to do. So it should be interesting, him moving to the Broncos, playing opposite of Bradley Chubb. I know their outside linebackers, their snap counts are fairly high, in the 80% range. If he can get there, then I think he has big time upside. But he's been mostly boom or bust. It doesn't get much in the tackle departments. I'm looking only 14 total tackles, combined tackles this past season with his 6 sacks. But they're building something good in Denver. I like what I'm seeing, these free agent signings, and plus what they've done on the offensive side of the ball. So, their secondary, all the talent they have on the secondary, Justin Simmons and Patrick Surtain, the second. I'm very intrigued by his upside. He can probably possibly get double-digit sacks this year, have a career with an increase in playing time and considering his environment. So I'm interested in the situation of Denver Broncos. I think they can be one of the best defenses in the league, especially fantasy defense special teams leagues. I'm definitely intrigued.
Now, Gary, the Broncos, Jonathan Cooper, drafted in the 7th round from Ohio State. He was rated pretty similarly by PFF on a similar snap count. Do we know that Randy Gregory is an upgrade over Jonathan Cooper at this point of their career?
So we're assuming, okay, here's where I'm at on Bob Miller or on Randy Gregory, is that I'm not sure if he's playing on the inside of that 3-4, if he's going to be a defensive end there, or if he's going to be one of the outside linebackers. Now,
I think he's going to be,
assuming that he's going to be an outside linebacker. Malik Reed's there. Nick Chubb has really been
Bradley Chubb.
Or Bradley Chubb has just been not very good, really. For where he was drafted, what he was supposed to be producing, he's not matched up to where he should be in value. So, and I like Malik Reed. I think he's just as good as Chubb, if not better. So I can see, as long as he's playing outside linebacker in that, I think double digits are there. It's a prove it deal. If we think about it, it's just kind of, they had to lure him away from Dallas, and Dallas messed up. So they was wanting to keep him, and I think it was for a reason. I think he finally is kind of like that Max Crosby story, where in his own little way he had turned his corner after having a rough start for the first couple of years. I believe when he one that got in trouble for guns, or was that Alden Smith, which used to also be on the Cowboys?
Gregory has a checkered past,
right, and kudos to him for turning things around. So. But as far as Cooper, I don't think that he's going to come into play. Okay,
I'm always a little bit nervous when somebody who does suffer from addiction issues and problems like that, when they leave their support system to go to a new team, always makes me a little bit concerned. But hoping nothing but the best for Randy Gregory. I loved watching him on Hard Knocks last year. Really seems like he turned his life around, which is all we really want from these kids.
Before you move on.
Yeah.
Before you move on, Gary, what do you think Gregory is? I think he's better like big play leagues, because you're not going to get the tackle production from him. You think he's that could DL2?
Right. Well, that's the safe floor, I'd say. You know what I mean? But I going there, playing that position, depending on which side he's on, I think he's technically more talented to either Reed or Chubb, and given his chance from saying maybe being their primary outside linebacker rusher, he's got a high ceiling. So I'm not going to be shying away from him even in standard size leagues. If he's my second or third guy off the board for my defensive line, I think the upside's there enough, and you can make up for a little bit later rounds. You can always, as I say, play it by the matchups with other defensive line. So depending on what the cost would be, but you're as a linebacker play, if he's a designated linebacker play, unless it's sack heavy or something, I don't think so. Because just as you mentioned, you can't plan on him going up there and increasing his combined tackles, not yet.
Yeah, I think that's a good point that you make, Brandon. Great question.
Yeah.
If he's listed as a linebacker, if you're not playing in a true position league, it has to be a big play, right? Because he's not going to he doesn't put up tackles. He hasn't put up tackles in his career. I don't see the point if you're just in a regular scoring league and he's at linebacker that he could be even worth starting.
Yeah, that's a good point. Because you can get destroyed starting him in that linebacker spot, especially if he goose eggs. Gary, you also mentioned Bradley. You seem to be low on Bradley Chubb. I know.
Yes.
I actually like Bradley Chubb. Last year, it was important to note that he struggled with a groin injury, I believe, most of the season. Went on IR multiple times.
And I get that. I hate putting injury tags on anybody, but it's just sometimes I try to look past the guy himself and I look at the situation, and basically he's just not been that serviceable since he's coming back. More than a bye week play when he's been healthy and when the matchup's right. So it's not that I don't like the guy, but I think he can definitely, he's not, maybe it's not his fault that he's not been able to take the next step, but what's he been in the league? 4 years now?
Drafted in 18.
Right. And I look at it, I think Gregory's closer to actually proving something than what Chubb is. It'll just probably be something else with Chubb next year, to tell you the truth. So I just have a hard time. I'm not drafting Chubb, not as an edge rusher, not as a linebacker, in any format. I'm just that kind of guy. I have trust issues.
You do have trust issues.
Yes,
Well,
I
let's
do.
stick with the Broncos. The big man from Mississippi, DJ Jones, signed a 3-year, $30 million contract with Denver. Coming off his best pro season, he had 56 combined tackles. He's going to step into that defensive end role in a true position league that's still defensive line, IDL, opposite of Draymond Jones. How formidable, Brandon, do you think this line is going to be with the signing of Jones and Gregory?
I think, man, this is a great signing, a real life signing for the Broncos. DJ Jones is a great run stopper, like you said. He had a career high 56 tackles. I think that's what they signed him primarily for, to stop the run, because they have the edge rushers, Chubb and now Randy Gregory, to handle the pass rush. So as far as IDP production, I don't think he's going to be very relevant, considering I think he only has like 5 sacks his whole career in like six years, like 2 sacks past season. His role is going to be more of a run stopper. So as far as fantasy football production, it's nobody I don't think we should be considering.
Now, would you consider him more in, as I was saying, like a true position league where he's interior, like a defensive tackle?
He could probably play interior defensive end too. I mean, they're pretty well interchangeable. It's kind of a fine line, depends what they want in their scheme. But considering, I don't think that they're going to put him in nose tackle, which would be the horrid position, because that guy just stops and plugs gaps. So he didn't get much unless somebody runs into him. But I don't think that's the case. I think they brought him in there to probably play the old Charles Harris role, the defensive end, excuse me. But here's what's impressive about the big man. All right. So for the first 3 years of his career, he had basically 10% missed tackles, which is not all that great when you kind of think about, well, he's only had 19 attempts his first year, and then like 25 and then 20. But what he did this year, of course, last year apparently he didn't have missed any tackles out of 20 attempts. But this past year, he stayed at 8%, under 10% missed tackles, and he had 61 attempts. That's impressive for a big man to keep that, to do it, a few years beforehand, and then come in, get more playing time, more opportunity, and then turn around and still keep his missed tackle rate low. That's really impressive.
Now, Gary, I'm not too familiar with the missed tackle stat and whether or not it's sticky from year to year. Do you find, you have way more experience than I do, that missed tackle rate sticks with the player from year to year?
It shows him. It can show improvement. It can show, if that's what you mean. I don't know if it's sticky as far as
sticky, meaning that if you see a player who's missing a lot of tackles, chances are he's going to miss those same tackles next year.
Yeah.
As far as if you convert it over,
it's hard to do it on a 1-year basis or even a 2-year basis. But by the time you're into the 3rd or 4th year, then you can have a picture. I wouldn't make that call on a guy necessarily that's only been in the league for 1 or 2 years, depending on his situation, but at the 4th year, 4 years completed, then I kind of look at the entire picture. It depends. Now, if we got somebody that's been in the league for 12 years, you know what I mean? Then you can really tell if that's sticky, right? So,
Yeah, I just wasn't sure overall how the stats played out. I know if you look on the offensive side, dropped passes.
right.
Drop passes it's not a sticky stat.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
You can have 10 one year and 0 the next. There's no correlation.
Right. Actually, yes. Then I'm going to say so within reason, it's probably sticky then.
Okay.
But it just takes 3 to 4 years to really get there.
I gotcha. Anything else on the Broncos, or let's move on to my beloved former Buck Jordan Whitehead signed a 2-year, $14.5 million contract with my New York Jets. Now, I am over the moon about the addition of Whitehead, what he adds to the back end of my Jets defense. Gary, will I be happy like this at the end of the season?
Oh, I love his signing. I love his signing. I mean, he's got a low missed tackle rate. He actually has a lot of talent that he might surprise you. You might just see him up in that box a lot. He is really good at stopping the run. If he gets more opportunities to be set up, I think he's got the ability to do what they really kind of need a strong safety. Marcus May, put him up here, maybe get him rushing a little bit more. I think he can hit it home. I like this a lot. This has got a lot of appeal. I think I like having him and Xavier Woods in the same program because I think they're both, for a lot of people, are going to be a little bit underrated. It's an underrated signing for IDP purposes. I think you're going to give good money for your value out of getting a hold of him. I mean, he almost was up in the elite. He was a way above average in his grade out. He's better than what people think. It's just he's never really made an IDP impact sitting at the back end of the Buccaneers. You know, he's had a couple of decent seasons, but once they got a hold of Winfield, he's just been back here directing more traffic. But he's a playmaker too. He's had a good year, and then he deserved to get paid. He's going to help your New York Jets out a lot. He's going to help those young guys that got back here.
Well, hopefully we'll get another young guy soon. Mr. Jackson, what do you think about Whitehead?
Yeah, I'm glad that Gary went first. I was a little unclear whether he was going to play free safety or strong safety. I know he's replacing Marcus May, who played the free safety position.
Don't quote me. Don't quote me. I looked into it, so I read the report. I do not know. I said don't be surprised if he's up in that box a lot more, like a strong safety, basically.
Yeah.
Get myself out of trouble real quick there.
Good try.
Wait and see wherever he's at. I got to admit, I mean, you're not turning that New York Jets around, right? That just did not turn around that defense. So, and it didn't turn around that offense. So, Jordan Whitehead is going to be busy next year. What do you think, James?
Right. Well, they needed the safety bad because you're looking at the depth chart. I think Ashton Davis is the other safety. He hasn't really performed all that well.
And Joyner, right, is the only other real name back there.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Nice re-signed Joyner.
Right. The defense, it was the last ranked defense, 32nd, and they were 30th against the pass. So
should we mention Joyner as a natural free safety?
I think they're still going to be adding another safety shortly. Definitely some corners at the very least. So they're not done.
Right.
But
they did sign DJ Reed, who was very impressive last year in Seattle. So I'm really excited for that signing. That's a great signing. So their secondary should be vastly improved with Whitehead and DJ Reed there at corner. I think it's looking up. They were 30th against the pass. That's surely to improve with the talent that they've added so far in free agency.
Before we move on, I got to ask you, JJ, have they got any pass rushers this year?
I mean, Carl Lawson will be back. You have JFM, who will go to more of a situational role. Yeah. He played well earlier in the season, faded down the stretch. They did add Jake Martin, formerly of the Texans. I don't know where he played last year. Yeah. Jake Martin, I mean, situational. I mean, Jets fans didn't quite understand the signing of him, but you need backups too. Yeah. So, right, the Jets are rebuilding. Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh have to rebuild that roster from the bottom up. Last year was tearing off the Band-Aid, man. And believe me, that Band-Aid hurt coming off, right?
Yeah.
It took a lot of hair off this hairy Italian.
Yeah.
Well, we got to remember, they lost, was his name Shaq Lawson? Is that it?
Yeah.
Shaq Lawson left. Carl Lawson was the one who got hurt.
Carl Lawson.
Yeah. Yeah.
He was supposed to be their primary pass rusher. They were very excited about signing him during free agency, and they lost him to an Achilles injury before the season started. That was a big hit for their defense. So I'm interested with him coming back. He should be able to help out with the pass rush, depending on how he recovers from that injury and what they do in the draft. If they're able to get, I don't know, Thibodeau in the draft or some elite edge rusher. I think the Jets are going to be improved.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I know Whitehead said that one of the reasons he went to the Jets is because he loves Saleh so much, and Saleh sold him on coming there. So I'm optimistic. Anytime a Jets fan says they're optimistic, bad things are about to happen. But speaking of bad things, former and current Jag, that was an intended double entendre for you English people out there. Myles Jack signed a 2-year, $16 million contract with the Steelers. Now, my buddy Don was ecstatic over the signing of Myles Jack. Of course, anybody would be better than Joe Schobert, but Gary, is Myles Jack really better than Joe Schobert?
No, they're essentially the same guy. I mean, if you look at what their completions allowed, if you look at their tackle numbers basically recently, if you look at their missed tackles, no, it's the same guys. And they're, Scobert did grade out slightly more, but not, beating Myles Jack at a poor grade is not that really big a deal. But whatever. The only thing I seen all over it, I didn't even check Scolbert's contract, was I just figured it was just basically a contract deal. For whatever reason, they just, dumped Scolbert. But whatever. I'm not excited about this. I think that he turns around and just mirrors Scolbert. So where Scolbert ended last year in your IDP league, that's probably where Myles Jack's going to be next year. They don't actually have a full-time guy in they're apparently, they still got Devin Bush sitting there. So, but I do think Myles Jack is going to have some service. It's just not going to be as an LB1.
Any thoughts on Myles Jack, Mr. Jackson?
Right. Yeah. Myles Jack has been a huge disappointment in fantasy. Very mediocre option. I'm not looking to add him any of my fantasy rosters. He's nothing more than probably a bye-week fill-in for me. He lacks big plays. Only 6.5 sacks his whole career. 3 interceptions his whole career.
All right, I want to point one thing out. One thing nice about Myles Jack. Last year, out of 108 attempts, he only missed 3.6% of his tackles. He made
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
He made 108 tackles, but that's what he's going to be doing in Pittsburgh. So that's probably. But Scolbert wasn't bad either. I think he was like 10% or something. But it's a guy to stop the run on situational. He'll probably be pulled out or something.
But isn't the issue? I mean, maybe. I understand what you're saying about missed tackles, but if you let every guy you're covering catch the ball and then tackle them well, you're still a terrible linebacker because you're letting them all catch the ball. But, if Myles Jack is tackling everybody 5 yards after a 5-yard run, who gives a poop?
That makes that normally makes a great IDP play, right, James?
Brandon?
Right. Brandon,
yeah,
I apologize.
They are so much alike.
Yeah, I apologize. Brandon, I mean, he's got a great point there. the more he allows. But I don't think that in Pittsburgh he might not be in coverage that much. He might actually. I mean, didn't he use Scobert and Devin Bush in some type of kind of like messed up rotation where neither one of them played a whole, like 80% here and there, something? So I don't know. What do you think, Brad? I'll let you finish. I just wanted to bring up one thing. For that linebacker missing and he's done it 6% the year before, and his highest was 15% in 2019, but he has improved in something, unless the guys are just running at him.
Right. I mean, I don't think the 3.6% tackle rate is helping him. He has a tackle rate of about 11%, which is mediocre. His highest tackle numbers, I think, was like 118.
Yeah.
So, he's
health's always hurt him.
Yeah. I mean, he's not really producing. He doesn't move the needle in fantasy.
Good stuff. Cool.
All right. I have to do more research. I'm getting defensive about that missed tackle number.
Yeah.
I don't think it matters at all.
Yeah, I do.
I know. I have to look into it now because
Well,
now you got me a little fired up. You got me a little fired up.
Even after the draft, and I dive into the rookies, don't think that I don't go look at the rookies that I want to see where they landed in nice spots and check out what they did, just to know kind of a prep if I'm analyzing them.
All right. Well,
I think the missed tackle rating is very important, especially when guys are getting more opportunities and stuff for tackles. Like we look at a guy like Foye Oluokun, who had 192 combined tackles, because he played the highest number of snaps for any linebacker in the league. So he was getting opportunities for tackles, and he had a 5.4% missed tackle rating, was very strong. That helped him. That helped his numbers. That was a big reason why he led the league in combined tackles.
He's almost. I mean, that's the same thing. I think we covered. If you think about it, that's almost what they did in Jacksonville was replace the same players, kind of. If you look at the numbers, if you looked at the missed tackle rate, if you looked at the completion rate, it's just like they just swapped. Everybody swapped. Now we just got to figure out where Scolbert's going to land. Because you had Myles Jack leave Jacksonville, Oakland went there, filled that hole. Now we know who's filling the hole in for the Falcons, don't we, James? Oakland. Walker. Yeah, you wrote about him, man. He's definitely the guy. But Scolbert's the guy. It's the last man out at the moment.
Right. Yeah, the missed tackle rate has more to do like efficiency, for example, with running backs like Cordero Patterson, he had a low snap rate, probably like, I don't know what it was, 30%, but he was still RB1 because he was effective every time he touched the ball. When he was on the field, they would give him the ball, and he was producing at an RB1 rate. So that missed tackle rating is more about efficiency. These guys get opportunity for tackles, and they're converting on them. Have a low missed tackle rate, it helps them in the box score.
All right. Well, let's touch on our final player. Xavier Woods signed a 3-year, $15.75 million contract with the Panthers. Now, he should line up in the Panther secondary next to Jeremy Chin. Jeremy Chin was the hot rookie in 2020. Is there enough room there for another IDP relevant safety, Brandon?
I think so. Just looking at the offseason that the Panthers have, they haven't really made any moves. They've lost a lot of players off of their defense. Son Reddick is gone, Daquan Jones. They have Morgan Fox, AJ Boye, and Stephon Gilmore. Those are important. Those are key starters. So if they're not able to replace those guys, then that defense can take a big hit, and that's going to open up some IDP production for Chin and Xavier Woods on the back end. I think their best linebacker is Shaq Thompson. I don't think he's a volume top tackler at all. He was more like an LB2 last year in fantasy. So I'm looking at these safeties. It could be, a lot of meat on the bone for IDP production. What do you think, Gary?
Yeah, I love it. I think it's just another one of those underrated ones, and I think if people are going to focus too much on what Burris had done there the last couple of years, which is apparently they're done with Burris because something's going on here where Woods is more of a natural free safety. He's one of those guys, and he's really good on that back end. And he's another guy that doesn't miss a lot of tackles, believe it or not. So when he came into like Minnesota last year, and he was taking that position was notoriously an upper DB2 in a lot of formats with Harrison playing it, not Harrison Smith, but the other Harrison prior that is now in Philadelphia. I can't remember his first name, but anyways,
okay, yeah, Harrison.
He went to Philadelphia. Yeah. Disappointed there, but either way, I like Xavier Woods. I had Xavier Woods on a lot of my rosters last year. Just got him late. He was going undrafted. I really liked it, and I like this one for the same thing. What I'm looking at with Carolina, I think with this signing, they're probably going to use him more in the free safety spot, and I think that maybe we see Chin's all over the field approach maybe change a little bit where they play in quite so many spots. If you got a guy like Xavier Woods who actually grades well and can play the ball and make some stops, I think that they might start using Chin a little bit more like traditional strong safety. And I think, you bring in Wilson, he can play a good middle inside linebacker, run stopper. He could definitely play that position a lot better than what Carter could. So, and then you got Shaq Thompson. And all these guys should be busy, just like it was mentioned. That defensive line, other than Burns, what do you have now? You have an undeveloped guy that's going in his third year with, I can't pronounce his name. I apologize. You added to, no, what was it? He's kind of been a disappointment, but.
Are you talking about Yuta Gross-Matos?
Yes, right. So maybe he steps up this year if they don't sign anything. I don't know if they're in cap hell. That's why they couldn't keep Riddick or whatever. But as it stands right now, other than Burns, Brown's solid, but he's still young. That defensive line is going to struggle if they don't get some veteran bodies in there to help out. And that's going to be a benefit for the secondary and the linebackers in this Panthers if you're an IDP owner, because I got a feeling that, for one, they might be on the field a little bit extra. It depends who they get for quarterback. And at the same, so there's some extra snaps and opportunities. And I don't think they're going to get after the quarterback quite like they did last year unless they sign somebody to help.
Is there anybody out there who's still available who you think would be a good fit? Not to put you on the spot, but I just did. Sorry.
I don't know. Somebody to tip the scale. I think the person that was going to keep tipping the scale is Riddick that left. I don't know. I mean, maybe you can't bring in Clowney. Clowney's not going to get you the sacks. Now, I at this moment, I can't think of one that I would prefer to see to go there to really help out. I think most of the big boys are off the board.
I mean, who's out there? Zadarius Smith pulled out of his deal with the Ravens, I think. Fowler's still out there.
Yeah. No.
JPP.
Man, it's hard to even trust JPP after last year. But when it comes to Darius Smith, that might be interesting, yes. That would get you maybe a good redraft year, maybe another couple years. But he might be the only guy that I could see that could possibly come in and turn something around.
I mean, there seems to be there's not a lot of marquee names left as far as the edges go, but there are the lunch pail guys, like Al-Qaid and Muhammad.
Right.
Nothing flashy. You only start him if you need him. Right. He's a guy who can give you 20% snaps and come in and do a good job.
Exactly. Jerry Hughes, I think. Yeah, Jerry Hughes, those kind of guys, Clooney, all of them. I think Yannick signing with Indianapolis is in the same boat as that personally. I've never, I've never been one to suggest him, but it doesn't hurt pay in there. But yeah, that's the vanilla guys, and that's the kind of guys they got, other than Burns. And this might stunt Burns. Burns needs somebody to be across from him that can get some pressure in there or near him. That way that he's not double teamed all the time.
Well, hopefully Derek Brown's emergence and growth will help him with that,
possibility.
Put a little pressure on from the inside.
Yeah.
Anybody else we want to talk about, gentlemen? Any breaking news that just happened he missed? Aaron Rodgers said that he knew all along that Davante Adams was going to leave.
Wow.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'm surprised he resigned with the Packers. I mean, how are they going to replace Davante Adams? I mean, that's the big question.
Wow.
What's the plan going forward now, wide receiver?
If I may quote a meme from Anchorman, I don't believe you. That's what I would say to Aaron Rodgers when he says he knew Davante wouldn't be back.
Yeah. Letting the drama build, how wild would it be like in a couple of weeks that they trade Carr for Rodgers?
No, Carr wanted Adams, though.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
They're buddies.
Yeah, I just like brain farting every once in a while, some stuff like that. It'd be wild. That'd be
Just
wild.
a question. Listen, that's what happens when we go dirty-o, people.
Yeah.
Sometimes it gets a little crazy around here.
Right.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because most of the main free agent wide receivers, I think, are off the board. So I'm curious what Green Bay's plan is moving forward. They're going to draft a guy. Most probably, they're probably going to draft a guy.
Juju is still out there.
Hey, you guys are getting carried away with this.
Sorry,
Come on, you're really pressing this, man.
It's at the end. All right, gentlemen. Well, we hit our 5 main guys. We talked about some other people. We even talked a little dirty-o. It's now time for tags. That's where we let everybody know where they can find us and any final thoughts you may have. Gary.
Just catch me at the IDP Tipster on Twitter. Basically the only social I'm at. But hey, my final thought is I'm glad to have Brandon on board. So as some of you might know, we have a fellow named Tripp that was in with us last season on every Thursday night. He's still around. He's just got better things to do than talk fantasy football. I'm kidding. So anyways, but I'm really happy to have Brandon Jackson on with us. Of course, we've been doing IDP dime jobs. Brandon, thanks for, joining us on Thursday nights. I hope you can continue to until we see where we're at in the future. And hey, this might be, here's the announcement. We might have a Sunday morning show. I think we are going to have a Sunday morning show. And these might be the 3 guys that you're probably seeing on a daily basis on Sunday mornings, along with a lot of other people. So I thought that I might throw that out there as a little primer here. And I'm looking forward to those Sunday mornings. So,
well, Gary, if there are 3 faces that people want to wake up to, it's got to be these 3, right?
Yeah.
It's got to be these 3
right.
months.
I don't want to even wake up to that.
Mr. Jackson, why don't you let the listeners out there, let them know where they can find you and any final thoughts?
Yes, you can find me on Twitter at bjack83. I'm the newest IDP writer for Gridiron Ratings. Check out my key and diagnose articles where I'm mostly writing about second-year breakout players. I've written about Xavier Collins, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, most recently Kwity Paye. Basically, the articles are showing what happened in the rookie season and what my thoughts are on their outlook for next season, going to the next season. And I'm very excited to work with Gary. I'm glad he brought me on this season. He's always been one of the best IDP analysts out there. I look forward to the Sunday live and helping the people out in the IDP community. I wish the community would grow more. Most people are into the offensive leagues, but I feel like IDP is underappreciated. And I want to work with Gary and help increase the IDP community, get people more interested in. So follow us in all our content. Make us your number one stop for IDP. We're gonna be doing great things together this year.
Hallelujah. We're spreading the gospel of IDP, people. Ladies and gentlemen, you can find me on Twitter at JJ Wenner. Thank you to Gary, as always. Thank you to Brandon. I am so excited to have you as part of Gridiron Ratings. So excited to be able to pod with you tonight. Looking forward to doing this a lot more as we move forward. And thank you to everyone out there for tuning in. It really means the world to us. All of your likes, all of your subscriptions, everything means the world to us. And it lets us continue to put out content every day at Gridiron Ratings. Now, make sure you turn into Getting Defensive every week for your off-season IDP content. And of course, go to our website for gridironratings.com for everything you need for the other side of the ball. And remember, your path to the title starts with Gridiron Ratings. Have a good night.